any society is how it treats its women and girls. The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls.
We create
the smart, powerful, creative, accomplished young women.
We can fight.
I'm here because of you. I'm here because girls like you inspire me. Many of these girls have faced unthinkable obstacles just to attend school. The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls.
Won't stand still.
Your story is my story. Your story is my story.
Buckle up, buttercups. It's another episode of Surly Voices here on WMNF Tampa 88.5. My name is Liz. I am joined by my co-host, Donna. How are you, Donna?
I am well.
Awesome.
Good morning.
So what are we talking about this morning aside from it being freezing cold outside?
I know that weather is insanity.
I had on my air conditioner Tuesday, and I had to turn on my heater as soon as I got home last night because it was so cold.
Yeah, my air conditioner blew up last week. And Ken spent the whole week fixing it. And as soon as we get it back on, it turns into Jack Frost is nipping at your nose.
Right. So, lots on the political spectrum out there. Biden continuing to ruin his legacy the longer he stays. Whatever legacy there was left. Yeah, go ahead.
Good news this morning, 1,500 clemency. 1,500 people will be granted clemency.
Mm-hmm.
So, and more on the way. So,
Allegedly.
the right thing for some people besides his son.
Yeah. And then the following up from last week, the CEO hitman, assassin, whatever you want to call him, has been arrested after being turned in by a McDonald's employee. And the meme gods are giving strong this go round. So, and actually, It's amazing to me because our regular listeners know that I talk a lot about this Facebook page from my hometown that I follow, and it leans really heavy right. And so I posted a question in there yesterday about what everybody thought about it, and I was very surprised at some of the responses. There was a small faction who said he's a murderer, he should go to jail. There was a smaller faction who said he's a coward for shooting him in the back. So I don't know if their opinion would change if they'd shot him in the front. But a surprising number of people were talking about the difficulties they had with insurance companies and healthcare. And so that seems to me to be the thing to do to unite folks, because at least you get a good chunk of those people who are on the other side. But I don't know. I've kind of given up on all that because the leadership of the Democratic Party for sure is just absolutely rotten. What do you think, Donna?
I think our concern is, people get killed in America every day.
Yeah.
And no one seems to be bothered by it. Lives have, there's a how should I say? We have a caste system. It's informal.
Yes.
In America. And so some lives are worth more than others.
Yes.
Of course, the folks who run the machine are going to be concerned about this particular death. Whereas they're not concerned about, someone maybe being prematurely placed on palliative care in a hospital and offed by the folks who, realize that there isn't any more insurance money forthcoming for an ICU stay. So that in light of that, we've seen millions of people in America. It's a bipartisan effort on the part of American citizens on social media to say, we don't care about this. You know, you guys have demonstrated that you don't care about us. And so here's some gallows humor for a gallows system.
Right.
Yes. And I read that on probably The Atlantic. So I don't want to, take someone and claim for someone else's word. But I thought it was the most appropriate and fitting description of last week's carryings on that anyone else has written.
Yeah. If you want to join the conversation, give us a call, 813-239-9663, or you can send an email to dj@wmnf.org. So say more about that, Donna, because I think that really is why you're seeing a bipartisan social media campaign trying to make light of the situation and to almost assign hero status to Luigi. So tell us more about how we got here and where we go from here, number one.
So the first thing is, there was a flurry of calls to security firms, private security firms, immediately after this happened. I'm just going to give you guys a summation of some of the stuff that I read about this. One headline said, top firms spend, pretty penny on security for top brass. Mm-hmm. There's been an uptick in calls to security firms, and there were these articles all over the place. There was like a subplot to the killing itself. And when you think about why would a firm need to surround their top brass with security? I read in, I think, the New Yorker that Angela Merkel was just standing in the line in the grocery store with bread and wine in her basket. She probably loved that wine. But, I mean, she's a German, right? German.
Yeah, Germans, it's either wine or beer, and yeah.
And not all Germans drink, so don't call us with that. Right. But she was just, no security, nothing. Yeah. And then you have someone like Vladimir Putin, or our president, that literally has an army, a motorcade. It looks like something from the British aristocracy, circa 1600. You had the golden carriage, and then you had this, on this motorcade. So that tells a story in itself, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like you put all your security around the capitalists and the people who in other countries who might be subject to a revolt at any time, and that's where the money goes. So yeah.
It just screams disparity.
Right.
The only time you need to protect someone is when they have a lot more than their fair share. I mean, you can argue that, but that's my thought.
I agree with that 100%. Let's talk to Fran in Largo. Hi, Fran.
Hi there. Yes, what you're just talking about, I know it just screams disparity about protecting wealthy people, all law enforcement, the FBI, going after this guy. It's all to protect the wealthy people. I just wonder, and maybe I'm being very naive, if any of these CEOs are doing any introspection on themselves about how much money they have made and the shareholders, how much profits they have made off of the pain of, this is being pointed out to them, I suppose. Don't they listen to the news, too? It screams it every time they talk about this guy, Luigi Mangione, his name. Every time they talk about him, it always comes down to how the insurance companies, the health insurance companies, have been ripping people off. It's just its own advertisement practically when they speak about it. The people on TV, the journalists, yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't you think they would? Some of them would do some introspection and think, "Hey, what we are doing is wrong," and instead of just building moats around their houses and protection and all that. By the way, all these people that are clutching their pearls about the man that was killed. Sure, it's a shame that he was killed, but nothing ever really happens until, something like that is done. Any kind of revolution, French Revolution or anything. None of it was bloodless.
Right.
There has to be a start to things. I feel bad that the man was murdered, but also this Luigi Mangione that did this, he has basically sacrificed himself, a 26-year-old good-looking young man. His life will never be the same after this, never be the same. I suppose he was kind of aware of this when he did it, but, all of these things, come to mind. Also, the people in the McDonald's. That turned him in. I kind of see another thing at work, the reward that was offered for this guy. So right away, hey, you work in McDonald's? You see this guy? There's a reward for him. You don't make much at McDonald's. You have lousy health care in McDonald's. So, I mean, the system, it's the rotten system that's really at fault. Okay, I said my little piece. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Fran. And no, I don't think they're doing any introspection at all. If anything, they're doubling down because the new CEO, I suppose, speaking out to his underlings was that got leaked, and what he said was, we're going to continue protecting people from bad medical care or something ridiculous like that. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I mean, they're completely invested, Fran. They're going to be completely invested in this system. They've built it. It's endured, for many years. Remember when the folks were protesting in Zuccotti Park in New York? And these folks would stand up on this balcony on Wall Street with their champagne and laugh. Yeah. And revel in the pleas and the misery of the folks below, many of whom had traveled penniless to New York to protest their economic and social oppression. So the folks who did that are deeply invested in the exact outcomes that we're getting. So there's no turning back for these folks. I think if they feel there would be immediate and crushing impact like what we saw with this assassination, I think you might see them take their foot off the gas just enough to avoid the worst outcomes for themselves.
Right.
But I think they're nonplussed by the public chagrin. They may be shocked by it because these folks tend to be out of touch. They only really engage with each other, but they are not going to be, I don't think this will transform. There's no inherent transformation on the way, folks.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I equate them to like modern day Marie Antoinette. It's like, oh, yeah, let them eat cake. They're hungry, let them eat cake. Yeah. I know she never said that, so don't at me.
She's actually revered in France now. They said that she was created a lot of programs for poor people, and that maybe she wasn't the person that, the revolutionaries made her out to be. And the government essentially apologized.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Interesting stuff. Google that, guys.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk to Ruby in St. Louis. Hi, Ruby.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking my call. And I really appreciate this. It's a really important discussion about the reality of the conditions of life today in this country. And there's a lot of polarization out there, and people are very, very dissatisfied. And, I think this was an important statement, that was made. And another important statement that I want to bring into this discussion, which is the that the people can fight and actually win is the Uhuru 3. And there is a sentencing hearing this Monday right here in Tampa of the Uhuru 3 at 9 a.m. at the federal courthouse. And they were charged. People, I don't know if people know about the Uhuru movement, but here in St. Louis, where I live, they are building programs for Black community economic development, for self-determination, for health, make food available in a food desert, renovating housing for a housing program of the people, uplifting for the community. And because of this work, they were charged of being Russian agents, and they won in court. And they won before a jury trial with a hostile judge in federal court saying that they were not Russian agents. But they were convicted of a lesser charge, which was a conflicted verdict, because they were charged with conspiracy to do something that they didn't do. So they're being sentenced for that on this Monday at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and 11 a.m. at the federal courthouse. We want people to come out, because they proved that when we fight, we win. It's a Black community-led organization. It's led by Chairman Omali Yeshitela. The other two of the Uhuru 3 are Penny Hess and Jesse Neville. All of them were based in St. Petersburg for a really long time, and there's a lot of work going on in St. Petersburg, continuing the economic work, continuing the work for Black community economic development and self-determination. And we want people to come out, because we're saying not one day.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ruby. Sorry, got to let you go. We're stacking up on the queue. Jiminy in Jacksonville. Hey, Jiminy.
Hey, happy Thursday.
Yes.
I love the conversation we're having. First off, solidarity with Uhuru. If y'all are available in Tampa, please go support them. They're trying to get fined for nonsense. But the conversation about Brian Thompson and his, suspected killer, I think is super important, because it is it's a conversation on class consciousness, and lets us know, even though we have all of these different political opinions, at the end of the day, a lot of us are being screwed over by insurance, and by people that are super, super wealthy, that want to do everything in their power, stroke of pen, kill hundreds of thousands of people, all for the sake of making money. And I think what we're seeing, especially with all of the different, there's so much information about this coming out, and it's all so confusing and conflicting and weird. And then his Goodreads account, people are going into all of his social media and dissecting the images that he posted, and all of this stuff. And it's just part of it is reiterating the whole thing of we need to do something. We need to step up. We need to have these conversations. And then it's also the after the Blue Cross Blue Shield people recalled the
yes.
Yeah, remember, the next day, they were actually, we are not going to stop paying for anesthesia
right.
in the middle of year-long operations, because, but I don't think they actually care. I think that was a timing thing, but I think it's, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to change capitalism just because one guy has now felt the wrath of someone who was in, allegedly, right? As someone who had, he had debilitating back pain from a botched operation.
Right.
And even though, he was from this
wealthy family,
family is what we're learning, he still, faced all of these life ruining circumstances because of he couldn't pay for all of these terrible surgeries.
Right.
And that's I can relate. When I was little, my mom had this huge, she got dermal burns on over 70% of her body from an explosion.
Oh.
And so she was in the hospital for 6 months. And that ruins, it's terrible. And it ruins families, and there's no support for all the aftermath of that stuff. And I think that now that we're having that conversation, people are really like seeing each other as people, especially after such a contentious election period. I think it's really important what's happening right now.
Okay. Thanks so much for calling, Gemini.
Bye. Have a great day, guys.
You too. All right. Ted in Elfers. Hey, Ted, where you been?
Good morning. I've been working. I've been listening.
Okay.
I texted here and there. I miss you guys that always listening. Love the show as always.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add my 2 cents about the whole Luigi Mangione situation. I think as you see Trump stacking the deck against the typical American by appointing the people that he's chosen to appoint, it just shows where someone, a person who lives in this country with a wherewithal to follow the truth, to know the facts, would get to a point where they feel frustrated that the courts aren't on our side, the cops aren't on our side, the politics aren't on our side, the politicians aren't on our side. And I'm speaking in generalization, of course. But I could see how one could get to a point where they're like, nothing's going to happen unless somebody makes something happen. Why not me? I have a friend who I haven't spoken to in years, but we're in the Marine Corps together. And he has a list. And I know that he updates it, or he used to update it when we were still in close contact. He has a list, and he always said, if I go to the doctor and the doctor says you have 6 months to live, I'm enacting the list. And I know what the list is, and I know it's a list of people who he knows have hurt a majority of Americans through their actions. And he feels that if he has no other recourse, he'll take it on as his responsibility to resolve the issue that they're creating. And I think I feel that's kind of where Luigi was, is he was looking at the situation, he went through the election, he's looking at the current state of affairs in America, and he's like, you know what? Catalyst is needed to create change. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be the catalyst. And it wasn't something he did overnight, obviously. There's no way he could have come up with this overnight and done it. So it was planned. And I believe that he wasn't going to do it unless certain factors were met. And those certain factors were met. And he was like, all right, time to enact my plan. So those are my two cents.
I think that's pretty spot on, Ted, in my opinion. But thank you so much for calling, and thank you so much for always listening. And we appreciate you.
Always. Love WMNF and love you guys.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. So Donna, what do you think about that? Luigi making himself the catalyst for change.
Well, that's exactly what he said in his manifesto.
Yeah.
You haven't read it.
Right. Because, and his manifesto, in case y'all haven't read it yet, he discussed the difficulties his mother had with neuropathy and not being able to get the right treatments approved and things like that. And also, as Gemini mentioned, his own health issues. He had a very serious back injury and had surgery, and he actually posted x-rays of his spine on his pages. Let me get some emails here. This one's anonymous. I don't understand why people believe he makes the decision. Vanguard Group and BlackRock are the major stockholders of UHC, Humana, Amazon, etc., you name it. They control the decisions being made, bottom line. Thank you. And yeah, that may be true, but he is the figurehead. He is the modern day equivalent of King Louis or Louis. And so he's the one where and CEOs always say the buck stops here. Well, the buck stopped. What do you think, Donna?
Well, nobody thinks that. Nobody thinks he's the person that is the only person. There's a board, there's shareholders.
Yeah.
There are all types of people. They're large shareholders that, call in and have tantrums when their returns don't look the way they want them. So there are all types of people involved in this. He agreed to basically be the figurehead, as you say, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a full-throated endorsement of the practices. And just like when when foreign countries collude to assassinate a leader, they realize there's a government behind the leader.
Right.
But the killing of the leader is a message as much as it is a death of an individual human. So nobody's sitting around thinking, now that this guy's gone, the company is this is not the monarchy, right?
Right.
As these are corporations, and they have tiers of leadership. So nobody believes that, but you gotta know that when someone goes after the head of something, they're going after the thing itself.
Yes.
It's symbolic.
Yes.
We get that.
Okay. Got some callers here. Let me say you are listening to Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. Give us a call if you want to join the conversation. 813-239-9663, or you can email to dj@wmnf.org. We are talking about the symbolism and messaging going on with the assassination of the CEO of United Healthcare, the capture of the alleged assassin, Luigi Mangione, and the opinions expressed on Surly Voices are those of Surly Voices and not those of WMNF Tampa. And
Liz.
Yes.
I think that we're having a larger conversation. On its face, it appears that we're having conversation about two individual men, and an issue that many people relate to. I think that the subplot here is, have we reached a turning point? And I heard the caller say earlier, this is not on our side, that's not on our side, the police, but the taxes are on our side. We're paying taxes.
Yeah.
And it pays for all of this stuff that's oppressing us. All of these people that oppress us, all of these products that kill us, all of this food that diseases us.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, it can't happen if we don't get in our cars and go to Publix. It literally can't happen if we don't get up and go to work and earn so that the government can take their cut and continue to fill these halls.
Mm-hmm.
Right? With legislators and leadership that doesn't believe that we have a right to pursue happiness for ourselves and our posterity. That's the problem. And the other thing is, and this harkens just a little bit back to last week, I don't want to turn back, but when people can't stand to see these systems and the individuals who are responsible for running these systems, besides the electorate, criticized in any way.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So we got Kirk in St. Petersburg. Hi, Kirk.
Good morning, Liz. Good morning, Donna. I've got a little off topic here, but I was curious. State of Florida sexual predators have to register with the sheriff in which county they live in. And I was really interested to know if Donald Trump is registered in Palm Beach County as a sexual predator.
Well, you should be able to go to the Palm Beach County website and look it up, no?
Okay. Well, I'm just curious that he can be treated special treatment,
Well, yeah.
for what he's done. And I talked with you folks a couple weeks ago about felons voting in Florida. And I've also heard that I guess the charges is not transferable to other states. There's get an immunity when you leave your state. Not sure about that.
I don't know about that. But yeah. Yeah, check into it and let us know, Kirk. And then thank you for calling, and
All right.
thank you
Have
for
a
listening.
wonderful day.
You too.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, we have Josh in Tampa. Hi, Josh.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How's it going with you?
Great to hear you all today. I love the show.
Thank you.
So I find this such a fascinating conversation. A lot of people are talking about how what's happened with this assassination is a symptom of a deeper problem. And I find that an interesting conversation. I'm just kind of curious what are other symptoms. So I don't know if anyone has heard about Principles for Dealing with the Changing World by Ray Dalio.
I have not. Maybe Donna has. She reads a lot more than about like that kind of stuff than I do.
Well, it talks about the rise and fall of various empires throughout history. The Spanish, the British, and now we're looking at potentially, depending on how things go, the United States, and talking about, well, who's going to take its place? Is it going to be China? What is that going to look like? And they look at the variables that go into that. And surprisingly, it all starts with education. If people are educated, then they innovate, they do well, and then when they do well, then the military can grow, and then the dollar can become the reserve currency, and all these things follow to give economic benefits to the empire in charge at the given moment. And obviously, we're seeing some of those things on the decline, especially with regards to health care as far as the United States goes. So one of the things that he mentions is that typically there's going to be a class of people who is interested in preserving the order the way that it is, and there's another class of people that wants things to change. They want to have a redistribution of wealth, and I'm sure you can guess which political party each of those would represent. But my question and to you all is, do you see there being a clamoring for redistribution from a certain class of folks, not only following these actions, but just in general? I think what I'm interested in is this truly a one-off situation, or do you see, from the people that you've spoken with, from what you've been studying, do you see that there is more of an interest in calling for redistribution from a large quantity of people, or not?
Okay.
Are people just kind of okay with how things are going?
Awesome. Thanks so much, Josh. All right, so I don't see a huge clamoring for redistribution of wealth. I haven't had enough coffee yet. Donna, have you?
Well, I think there is. I think that the system is so big. This thing has grown so fat, right? Mm-hmm. Which is some of it's a false premise for Republicans because they really just want to get more for themselves.
Right.
But it's one of the things that makes their premise so appealing to the masses. Because you guys got to remember, because I work as an operative in the Democratic electoral politics, I have to study the other side. Not many of my peers do. And so when I hear people say things like that to our last caller, it does appear, to his point, that people are not clamoring for the wealth distribution. But he said the thing that the reason why it feels that way and the reason why there aren't more people is because of education. Luigi was an Ivy League graduate. Yeah. So he had a good education. He was being prepared to become a master of the universe, right? So everyone was shocked because normally when people get a good education and they understand how the system works, they will either become a safe Democrat that upholds the system. Because remember, our Dems that are in Washington are not exactly clamoring to tear apart the system.
They are not clamoring to do anything except, right. Yeah, exactly.
And remember when, and it is a big part of the problem. And I don't want to be long-winded here, but remember when our Nancy Pelosi told AOC, who has gotten in line for the most part, with the exception of some very fiery speeches, there's no clamoring there. That's as far left as you can go in Washington. And there's still no clamoring. Remember when she voted with the union, voted against the And it shocked everybody. But no one really said, hey, we're going to hold you responsible for that, because people's feeling that this is the best we have. So when you look at our system, let's just pan out a little bit and everybody take a deep breath. If you look at social media, there are so many groups of anti-capitalists. And they are speaking all the time. The media does not cover those people because their bread can't be buttered from that space. So, and the other thing is, I personally know millions of people that don't have, because of the work I do, who don't have enough education to know what's oppressing them. I remember distinctly, and this is no shade to Puerto Ricans, and I'll put a pin in this one for another show. Being in Puerto Rico and hearing and trying to have a conversation as leftists about the colonization of Puerto Rico, basically making it a colony and exploiting its people, and the cost of consumer goods and the dismantling of its education system, et cetera, Republican governor. And people were really offended that we thought of them as being a colonized people to a even greater extent than people on the mainland U.S. And they couldn't name their pain. They said there's something wrong with Puerto Rico. They did what Black people do, right? They're Black Puerto Ricans, of course. But they did what I see my mating dean do, is they say things like, there's something wrong with Black people. There's nothing wrong with Black people, except everybody believes there's something wrong with Black people, you know?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans are like every other American person, right? And they couldn't accept that there is a hand that is colluding and orchestrating their oppression. And there are people on that island who get it and who speak loudly and articulately about it. But I felt like that was my turning point in my political education, my street political education, where I understood that it's deliberate that people are not afforded an education that would truly liberate them, which is the main purpose of education.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to Sister Connie in Tampa, who's been holding for a long time. Thank you so much for holding.
Yes. Good morning, sisters. I am just so, to be living during a time such as this. Can you imagine, Black folks that have gone through the medical physicians and can express their pain level to be a 10 and to be refuted by the medical physician that, no, you had a 3. Or to watch Black women in particular that have had to go historically through, sterilization because a physician thought that would be the best thing for human society.
Right.
To watch this young man.
Oh, where'd you go? I didn't do anything. Maybe she's on a cell phone? Oh,
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
To watch how no one, stepped in and say, I recognize him. A family member, that it took a worker at a McDonald's to say something, and then to listen to the coverage of the news people to say, he's from such wealth. We can't imagine that he would have done such a thing.
Right.
Good point.
This thing is on life support. This whole system is on life support. And then, and the next 4 years, I don't know if it's going to die off or what, but it sure enough can't continue in the manner in which it is, where people's basic needs are being denied.
Yes.
Where people that is paying into a tax system cannot get services that it needs. And I believe that this is just the beginning of killing off whatever people think about this so-called democratic process. Thank you, ladies. Love you.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, I got to say something about that.
Okay.
I think we got enough time to get through those because we've got another 15 minutes here.
Yeah, but John in Port Richey's been holding on for 8 minutes, a little over 8 minutes now. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
8 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this. What Connie is saying is yes to that. I think that every time we get close to striking at the heart of empire, it morphs, it changes form.
Right.
And so we had a movement for Black liberation in the 60s, and the system changed form. It said, hey, let's establish a class of elite Black people, and then they'll tell the rest of the Black people what to do. We will soften and weaken the education system, which
Uh-oh. Now Donna's gone.
No, which I saw firsthand in Philly. The results, the fallout of white flight from the suburbs and the dismantling of the education system in Philly is showing its outcomes even today in 2024.
Right.
And so this fight, if you guys got to put it all together, like I spend a lot of time thinking this thing is connected to this thing, like a body. It's a body. So think of like the hip bone being connected to the leg bone, right? The abortion movement, the movement to restrict women's rights is connected to a great number of young people dropping out of this whole home family 2.5 family, right?
Yes.
So that's the denouement that you're watching there. The young people are saying, you will not allow me to have a living wage, a good education. A lot of people have degrees, but a good education, an understanding of the system and how I fit into it, right? Mm-hmm. Which would encourage, and it did in the past, a willingness of that individual to participate in said system because they could clearly see the benefits. And so young people are not producing in the same numbers that they were because that's how you drop out. You don't necessarily drop out like Luigi did. Most people aren't going to do that. You're not going to drop out like the young man that self-immolated in front of the embassy in New York. Most people are going to drop out by refusing to participate in traditional family life, in traditional work structure, having one job that you get your benefits from. People are choosing the gig economy. That's how societies fall apart. People withdraw participation.
Okay. Let's talk to John in Port Richey. Hi, John.
Hey, thanks for the show.
Thank you for holding.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. You guys made a salient point earlier. It's really not the CEO that's responsible for this, and I think you can probably argue it's not even the board of directors or the shareholders. Go back and look at the healthcare system when it was a not-for-profit system, and look what happened to it when it became a for-profit system. So the system changed that structure. And there's something else that's interesting with our corporate America system. Did you guys know that the corporations have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to maximize their profit?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's another problem with the system. So if we just change those two things, that might start pushing us in the right direction. Thanks.
Thank you. And as our listeners know, we are definitely advocates for national health care. We are the only nation among the big nations who doesn't have universal health care. And everybody, it can be done. But because, the capitalist system has such a hold over this country, will we ever have national health care?
It may be further away than we'd like to admit. Mm-hmm. That is, Liz.
I'm just counting down the days till I can get Medicare. That's all I know.
Yeah, and even then, people are having problems. There are lots of problems with the existing system. I'm waiting with bated breath to see how this new regime engages veterans, the folks that they claim to revere.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And what the fallout will be from that. And you guys, every time this happens, to Connie's point and to John's point and the caller even before, people are starting to get it. I'm noticing that callers that don't just call in because they just want to call in, callers that call in because they really are sitting at home thinking about these things and really are trying to understand what's happening to them, what's happening to us. Like one caller said earlier, why people aren't responding, seemingly not responding to all of these different, machinations in our economy and our social structure. And people are slowly starting to understand. And you can see when you say there is no mass movement, there isn't, like, that we can look at and point to and say, okay, that's BLM, that's the Redneck Revolt, that's Food Not Bombs, that's Doctors Without Borders. You're not looking at it and seeing it like you saw it in 2016 when people were in the streets, but you see people disengaging and you see people celebrating the demise of folks that they perceive as having had part in their oppression. So that's a great way to start. I personally have been waiting my entire life to see people really understand. I remember in 2014 when someone would pass away, like a supposed great person, it was a Colin Powell or John McCain, and people would go, oh my gosh, he was a great man. And then the kids would say, you know what, screw this guy. He did this and he did that. Did you forget that he was the one that did this and he said that this, and they were tearing these people apart. And people in the middle age and older said, oh guys, that's you're violating the social code. Right. You're violating the social agreement. You can't do that. And now, look, I see all of these senior elder statesmen and women saying, oops. And it's kind of great,
Yeah. Let's get to Norm in Tampa. Hi, Norm. Thanks for holding.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. Listen, you're very interesting. You keep touching on stuff that I write about and things like that. One thing is that, you talked about, one of the things you talked about what's happening here. If you look at what's happening in today, this is a crisis that is necessary and that all societies have gone through. If you go back to the period of there's always been this thing of the dynamic culture and a static culture, a period, you talk about the 9th and 7th century of a period of where you have the Enlightenment, and then you have this movement. Germany, France comes around, religion talking about the counter-Enlightenment, and then you brought out something about the Puerto Rican situation. I mean, it reminds me so much of the story. If you look at the story of Plato's allegory of the cave, where here you have these people who are in this cave that have been captured in the cave, and then one escapes and he goes back and he cuts and sees the light, and then he comes back into the cave. And what happens when he informs the people what's really going on? They go in a state of denial, and that denial is a human characteristic that takes place and stuff. And then you talk about this guy with the insurance. I just wrote an article yesterday. I'm published it. It's called "The Death of Brian Thompson Underscores the Rise of the Healthcare Fraud." So if you look at this article, it describes how here you have what was Brian. You ask yourself, what was Brian Thompson doing? Well, he was in New York, and he's the head of a big health insurance company. And what's he doing? He's meeting with his shareholders. Right. But he's not meeting with the doctors and the physicians. Exactly. Talking about new dynamic care and stuff. He's meeting with his shareholders. And it's something interesting that United Healthcare was doing, because I'm a healthcare provider. One of the things that United Healthcare and Anthem was doing was they were restricting the amount of anesthetic solution that they were going to pay for during surgery. As soon as this guy was assassinated, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Anthem Insurance, withdrew it. And you can read about it. Of course, I got to talk about my blog. You are within the norms.com.
All right.
You are within it. And, and it's called The Death of Brian. There's another one called When the Dangerous Paincare Stupidity Sits on Your Medical Board. I mean, we've read a prolific amount of information that you talk about, and we go into the philosophy that we need to go through this. That this is a process, and every culture has this static thinking that is happening now. Every culture has gone through it, and yes, it does lead to the collapse of the nation.
Okay. Thanks so much for calling, Norm. I got to let you go because we're running out of time. Our last caller will be Mike in Sarasota. Hi, Mike.
Hey, how are you doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
Pretty well. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I'm calling you because I have some sincere questions for which I think you would be the most expert on this topic that I'm aware of. My question concerns the BIPOC, BIPOC.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just three quick questions. Does BIPOC include Hispanics? And two, if it does, or if it was meant to include Hispanics, are Hispanics really participating in BIPOC organizations? I realize BIPOC is not a formal organization; it's more of a classification. But then my last question is: are black men participating in what you might call BIPOC organizations in numbers that you would expect or would find useful? So is it meant to include Hispanics? Are Hispanics participating, and are black men participating?
All right. Thanks so much, Mike. Donna, what do you know
so
about?
The other day,
yeah.
I'm not Hispanic, and so I don't. I'm going to enter into this space very gently. The other day, I read that someone said, "Let's normalize Hispanic people," and we have to be clear because we got to make a delineation between Latino, people who are derived from Latin American countries,
Mm-hmm.
And what that entails is a lot of the blood of the indigenous.
Yes.
Right? Okay, and then when you talk about Hispanic, you could be talking about someone who was a pure African or a Spaniard from Hispania. All right, from Hispania. So when you have to make the distinctions, and so I would say a Hispanic person lives on the island of Hispaniola in Haiti, right? Or the Dominican Republic on the other side of this landmass. And so I think that there isn't a lot of understanding of what the distinction is. And consequently, there isn't a lot of ability to differentiate. Right?
Right.
So I am a Black American. I could be Hispanic. The word technically means Spanish speaking. Right? So I think that there are a lot of Latinos that have the blood of indigenous First Nations peoples.
Yes.
Okay. And so when we think of people in Arizona, when we think of people in the parts of the Southwest that were once considered Mexico, we have to understand that the land claims and the repatriated indigenous are living in that part of the country. Now, I personally do not aspire, I'm going to do this very quickly, to the term BIPOC. I think it's a way to put people who share similar levels of oppression but divergent experiences into one cup to make it convenient for colonizers.
Yes.
And so I'm going to continue to call myself Black. And they ask you on the census, are you Latino? No, I am not. I am a Black person, descendant of slaves. So I think that when we look at the definitions, then we really understand who we're looking at and the question will answer itself.
Right. And I just want to throw in for the folks who don't know what BIPOC is, it's an acronym for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. And it's only cropped up here recently. So it like Donna says, it's a way for the colonizers to put everybody into a convenient little package.
Everybody that is not colored. Everybody goes on the other side, and everybody that's colored goes into the BIPOC basket.
You might as well have two baskets that say white and everybody else.
Right. Bye now.
Yeah. All right. Let's catch up on these emails. How can a nation actively funding genocide criticize its citizens for praising murder? If you don't like the effect, don't produce the cause.
Hey.
Well, that is very profound. Yes.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
National strike, I'm down for it. That's from Ted. And then CEO shooting, I'm reminded of a quote by Mark Twain. I've never wished for anyone's death, but I've read a few obituaries with a certain amount of glee.
Hey.
So we will end on Mark Twain because Frank has given me the finger. Thank you for listening to Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. Please join us next week at 10 o'clock.
I like diamonds, I like stunning, I like shining, I like $1 million deals. Where's my pen? I'm signing. I like those.
This is WMNF.